Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mitten Backstage. Hope you're doing well this week. Today, I'm going to be chatting with Nathan Coles. I've known Nathan since we both did our undergrads at Grand Valley State University, and since then, we've played together in various projects. He sometimes sits in with the Mark Lavengood band. We have a trio together called Normal Mode. I've seen his band All Is Well perform in the past. But in addition to being a performer, he's also an employee of Black Swamp Percussion, a Holland-based percussion equipment company that specializes in a lot of orchestral equipment, including snare drums and tambourines. If you liked today's conversation and you want to support my podcasting efforts, you can head on over to patreon.com/Tracy Snedeker. There, you'll get access to early episodes of every podcast that I'm working on, as well as exclusive merch and services. You can also head over to DutcherSnedeker.com to see everywhere else that I'm currently operating on the internet. And if you also enjoyed today's episode, you can support by liking, following, sharing, all those wonderful things that we're able to do as audiences on the internet to help the creators that we enjoy. All right, let's get right into today's episode with Nathan Coles. I'm feeling this way, but yeah.
You hear that? That's my echo saying, you have a podcast with Dutcher.
Hey.
yeah, these smart assistants are very helpful, but also interrupt.
Yeah. But how's I don't know. I mean, we've been gigging together in normal mode and doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah. That has been like huge. Like since 2020 was a year of no gigs, being able to just like have something that feels consistent, that is like performing, has been like, I don't know, again, another mood booster where I'm just like smiling all day because I'm like, I get to play drums in front of people. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and kind of puts me in a position where it's like, okay, you're practicing for something, you're not just practicing in your basement for like the future idea of a performance. Like, nope, you have deadlines or obligations,
Right. Yeah. You have things that will pop up, and I'm thinking of that with some of the recording projects I have. There's like, May is coming up, and I'm like, I should probably just like get these done within the week, like get them finished. Because I've been sitting on some of the tunes I've put on the back burner because just the deadlines weren't coming up as soon, and now it's like, oh, I should get these out of the way so I can take on some more stuff for the summer.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's cool. Like I feel like I'm kind of a person who needs a deadline because it gives me that little push, because if I don't have anything on the books, I'm more likely to just play video games, or, just put off a night of practice or whatever, just because it's like, I don't have anything pressing right now.
Yeah, I don't have anything immediate. Well, and I think of like some of these YouTubers that I follow that are like, they hustle to a certain point, and then they have the audience, and then they'll have moments where it's like I think someone like JonTron, like he put out a video yesterday, just some goofy thing, but the last video he had put out before that was like almost a year ago.
Whoa.
And it's like, okay, so he can really take a break and like not like, he's getting multiple millions of views on each video,
right?
And so he can kind of take a back seat, or like the ones that say like, hey, I'm putting out the video today because it's the absolute last part of the day I can put this out for my sponsor deal.
Right. Right, those deadlines, that is like the kick in the butt, and well, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I feel like most of my deadlines are like, they're, I don't know, some are more pressing than others. Like I feel like, a gig's important and you want to feel good on that, but it feels less stressful than like, turning in a product or like sending a thing like, okay, he said he wanted keys. Hopefully he likes this because I don't have a lot of time this week if he needs extra stuff. Or
Sure. Right.
But
yeah.
Yeah.
So gigging has been great, and I hope that as the weather warms up and places open up, like there will be more opportunities and therefore more more reasons for me to practice and to just get out there,
Yeah, just get I don't know, like just to get I know I have like 2 festival environments that I'll be in, at least confirmed right now, and that's going to be interesting to like see what that I felt like I was in something similar last year, and it was like a private event, but still like there was like 100 people, and it was outdoors, and I was just kind of like, this is still happening. There's still a lot of people out here.
Right.
And they're all, I don't know, it's like the people who you would the usual suspects of certain types of festival goers. It's like a lot of that hasn't, I feel like a lot of that hasn't changed with. It's like there's always going to be someone who's like all they want to do is dance, and they're dancing all day and night. And then there's another people there's like the group of stoners over in the corner somewhere, and then they shuffle over to the stage and they just kind of stare at you or like move a little bit, and
they're
all still there.
Right. So are these festivals, are they like socially distant, or is it like, how does that work? I mean,
I don't know. One of them is, it's another private event put on, well, I guess semi-public event. There's tickets, but they have a capacity
sure,
for outdoors. And the other is a new festival, and I don't really know any details about it. I just know that like Mark Lavengood's on the team to coordinate talent and like help put together other events related to this new venue of sorts.
Is that the Smiling Acres?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah,
I saw the pallet stage that's being built. That's pretty good recycling right there.
Yeah, just very like smart way to save some costs on starting a festival.
Tell you what, go on Facebook Marketplace, get all those free wooden pallets, and you got yourself a festival.
Yeah, you got a stage, put some bands on there.
There you go.
Did it.
And that's how it's done.
Yeah, I've made a festival when I worked at that steel plant and was stacking pallets. Those are all stages.
That's right. That's cool though. I'm glad there's new opportunities that are opening up, and like, I'd love to go to a music festival. Like when the weather's warm, I just want to go see music outside. Like,
yeah. There's something nice too about like, I don't know, like as much as people, they talk about like, that like, I'm gonna go see every song, I'm gonna look at every band on every stage and music and live music. It's like, sometimes it's nice too to, you're winding down and you're at that stage and you're just, you're having a beer with a friend and you're kind of paying attention to the band, and it's like, oh yeah, that's good. But it's more of just being in that environment of just like,
sure.
Like this isn't like work. This isn't like, I'm not necessarily networking, but like it feels like you can network. Like it's
totally
a chill environment for, at least from my experience. I'm sure there's been festival bands at festivals not having a good time.
Oh, totally. Yeah. But I know what you mean about like chilling, but you're networking, and like with shows being kind of off the table last year, I felt like there were like different opportunities that I didn't pursue for online networking. Like a lot of people did like live streaming and that kind of stuff. And I was like, I don't know, I'm not going to live stream to try to meet new musicians, because normally I just see people at a show, and like those steps online, I felt like I was like, I don't know, I'm not going to live stream. I tuned in to live streams, but I definitely missed out on the networking and like seeing old friends and meeting new ones, you know?
Yeah, I'm that old, but like when you get older, the the dynamic, ignore your kid and play a bunch of video games. Do you
Right.
want to do you want to like potentially like have me accidentally bring in COVID, even though I feel like taking that risk? But yeah,
Right, right.
it's just like no.
Mhm. I
um
have found, I feel like that is kind of a unique thing in the music industry because we're kind of like bouncing around a whole lot. But then when you see people that, you know, you're friends with or you know, it's like, it's been.
if I ever see, I don't know, or if I ever interact with people that I went to like bang on a can with, or that I went to school with, and it's like, oh yeah, we used to see each other at, so like we used to see each other a bunch, or like, oh, when we were at banging a can, we lived together for like a month, and
Sure.
now we're all over the place.
Right. Yeah. Kind of like you forge friendships through like this like given path or whatever. I mean, living with someone, obviously, like that's a quick way to either be friends or enemies, but
Yeah.
you know, like you're in it together. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's like people who get it and they aren't just, I don't know. Like there's people, it's like there's people who can, like if I were to go play in Chicago and I'd see some of the people that I saw the last time I was in Chicago, I'd be like, oh, cool. Like we're catching up. Like that's great. And then there's those people who you've met that you're like, I don't know if we're ever going to see each other again. And that's fine.
Yeah, no, there's definitely been those relationships for sure. But that's
Yeah.
all good. I mean, there, you know, comes and goes.
Yeah. Well, and this past year too has kind of reminded me of like who's in the corner, who's like when nothing's happening, who's still reaching out to me, who's still working with me, who's like, given, who's paid for stuff, like who's hired me, like any of those people who, hit me up for an album review or studio session, or like got me a gig, or it's like those are the
Totally.
people that definitely stood out in terms of like that had opportunities and were able to, you know, pass along something.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when things are so few and far between or were, you know, so slim last year. Like definitely that means a lot more.
Yeah. And you were like, because with Black Swamp, you were working remotely.
Hmm.
Um, how is, wait, because you're in, you do shipping and social. So how do you ship? Like, do you just have a bot that picks things up at the warehouse or something?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, at the peak of shutdown, like production just didn't happen, you
Hmm.
know? So, and no one was ordering anything domestically or internationally. So it was once like manufacturing had opened up again, that I just started doing remote work. And then my boss was like shipping the very few packages that had to go out because no one's really buying anything. So, it wasn't like once like everything started opening up overseas because like Germany and a couple other European places like that we ship to kind of had their act together, right, with COVID.
Yeah.
So like in Germany, like we could ship drums and instruments to Germany because you know they figured it out.
Got it
And
all taken care of.
yeah, they had proper precautions, so they were a huge help. And because of that, like then I could go back into the shop and ship things that needed to be, you know, shipped.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the flexibility of working from home, like doing remotely, because doing social media and branding, video editing, and that kind of stuff, I don't necessarily need to be at the shop. So,
Right.
you know, bring the laptop home and I can just edit video and post stuff from home, and that is like, I don't know, it's a huge perk, and I'm like super thankful for a job that offers that flexibility.
Yeah. Like that, it is the video work, because I see a lot of the posts. Is it like you getting, like someone who has a Black Swamp product sends you something, or are you reaching out to like people who've, tagged the product and like, hey, do you want to do you're working on orchestral rep. You want to do a video? We'll feature you on the thing. I don't know if it's like that type of relation type thing, or if it's just, like cool shots of how stuff happens. And
Sure. Yeah, it's like a mix of both for sure. We do our own like video production and shop when we're doing sound samples or like demonstrations of stuff. But we have a huge roster of artists and educators who like rep our gear, and they'll make content for like a new piece they've written, or if they're premiering something, they'll use our gear and then they'll let us know. So then we can help promote it, which is awesome. Like it's kind of a collaborative effort of supporting our artists and educators when they have stuff happening, and then like equally they're using our products, so we're like, we'd love to feature this because people want to see you playing, and hey, it's a Black Swamp drum or tambourine or that kind of thing. But Instagram has been awesome because a lot of folks just tag us. So when we're using like hashtag Black Swamp or whatever, folks kind of caught on, and like they would use our gear and then tag us, and we're like, oh, we should repost this. And then a lot of people started doing it. So our Instagram page is essentially just user generated content. So anyone who's using Black Swamp gear and like tags us, it's like, of course we'll feature you. Like, you're an excellent player. That was an awesome little etude that you played. We'll definitely repost it. So that's been like really cool that I don't have to make content for every day of the week. that people on the internet do that.
Yeah, it's nice too to just have. I feel like it's nice to have that feeling as a performer who's like they're investing in their careers, and they're posting these things to like on a whim, just, that first time they're like, oh, I got this tambourine. I'll just tag them. Like, we'll see what happens. And to know that there's another human on the other side of that tag that's like cool and like helps repost it. That's like super motivating. It's like, oh, they see me. They know what I'm up to. That's
no, it's a pretty unique thing, I guess. Like, I mean, that's the internet though, right? Like seeing that people are noticing the things you're doing and like recognizing it and giving you praise or like a repost and that kind of thing. A lot of people are just like, oh, Black Swamp reposted it. And I'm like, I'm glad that you're excited about it, because like we're excited that you want to actually share a video or a picture of you playing the instrument or using it. And I don't know, like it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be in that driver's seat,
Yeah, and like being able to like, since you're on the shipping end too, it's like you might have those moments of you send something out and then that name reappears on Instagram and you're like, oh, he got his thing. I sent that out last week.
Yeah. And funny enough, when people do unboxing, that's when I'm like my most like, oh my gosh, I hope I packed that like, I hope it looks good, because like, it's all bubble wrap, but the unboxing experience should be just as cool,
Yeah, I think of that channel, YouTube channel, Unbox Therapy, and just like that first. I remember when I first saw him do something, I was like, "Oh, this is why people like unboxings," because it's like,
oh yeah,
and then you start to see the companies who like lean into the fact that they know someone's going to unbox this on a video, and they send this sweet like package thing or.
Yo, that's where my head's at, because when people are posting videos of their unboxing, I'm like, it's not gonna look like Unbox Therapy. I mean, it's just bubble wrap. But wouldn't it be cool for like lights or something, smoke comes out and then you're like, oh, brand new instrument.
It's in its own custom engraved silk container.
See, that's the goal. That's the goal.
Just these beautiful like, or it's brought in on like a carriage and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't even got to the box yet.
Yeah. See, that's the kind of brand we're working towards. You know what I'm saying?
We're gonna, for the budgets for all of our shippings, it's gonna be way too high because we have to parachute jump these in an action movie down into someone's house.
Yo, that would be a good infomercial. I would be down for that.
Yeah, I'm always looking for like when I see someone like doing those kind of unboxing videos, I'm always just paying attention to like even just like the weird, because it doesn't directly translate unless you hold something, but just that like seeing someone experience it and you're putting yourself in like, oh, that'd be sweet for like if I had that phone, I would do that. Or if I had this tambourine that this guy, I would just like you and to see someone use it well too, it's almost like or like use it thoroughly, you're like, okay, now I feel more confident buying
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. I mean, that's the influencer like market in general, right? I mean, Unbox Therapy, or even like I think of Black Swamp artists or educators as like our influencers, you know? I guess it's just a new word for like an endorser now.
Right.
But it's hugely influential when you see someone that you follow online and they're an excellent player, and then they have like they're consistently repping gear, and it's like, oh, if I want to play like so and so, maybe I should get this gear. Maybe I should get that drum or tambourine. But that's something that I get caught up in, is the tools of the trade rather than like just practice with what you have. I'm like, oh, I need a new laptop or a cymbal or something to get me to that next level.
Yeah, I need the new for me right now. It's like I know I'm still a little ways off from getting a new keyboard, but I know just the little tweaks to my setup, like, okay, how do I want things to be organized cable wise? Like, what types of sounds do I need from like the instruments I'm bringing to a show or to a session? Like, just yeah, nerding out about like what's going where and how am I doing what with whatever I got.
Totally. Totally. And then if you have someone speaking confidently about like the right way to say set up your keyboard rig, or like the right way to have your drum set, set up, or to get the sound you're looking for, that to me is always just like, oh, I need that, don't I? I'm going to need all these things.
Yeah, well, and it's so funny too. Like I talk with other keyboard players who haven't like even attempted to try and do anything MIDI, and it's like I'm not as thorough as some people where they like they go in and they reassign like these keys are going to do this sound and this thing's going to do that, and like or playing getting really deep with how like all the MIDI channels. I like knowing that like with the cabling, it's just like, oh, it's just like audio ins and outs, but it's it's data, and that
Sure.
it's like even just having one, like with my setup right now, just having one MIDI cable wrapped around and plugged into a smaller synth and having both of those sounds, like I can control both with one keyboard. I can mix both in with the Key Largo mixer unit thing. It's like just that little piece of like, oh, MIDI cabling in, out. Oh, this is how it works. Like that
Yeah.
changed how I play live shows with Earth Radio.
Yeah. Definitely. You have a lot of sounds that you're working with probably. And like, I mean, MIDI's a game changer.
Yeah, and I think the next step, I'm thinking it might be a Korg workstation. I mean, I've always thought about a Nord, but I also was like, a Korg workstation would have a billion sounds, and that it's looking at that versus a Nord and being like, what are the utility, or like, yeah, like what do I like a Korg workstation would be like, this could be like a music production hub and a live crazy thing.
Yeah.
But a Nord would have also great sounds, be a little bit more intuitive control wise. But I think it costs more than the workstation, but
it also has like the name that when people
name,
see Nord, they're like, oh,
Nord,
he's gonna rip on that.
he's gonna, yeah, it's
When you see that red Nord, you're like, okay, it's gonna get wild. Whatever's gonna be played on that, it's gonna be wild.
whoever knows. Well, and I don't even know how long Nord has been in the game compared to like Korg or Yamaha. I feel like
Sure.
they're still older, but it's funny how Nord is like, they've made themselves part of that like top tier market when, they could have easily lost to, like Yamaha, we make motorcycles and
And
pianos,
instruments.
instruments, and
I know it's a little bit crazy. Yeah, Yamaha's like, oh yeah, they do everything, don't they?
so yeah,
It's like the the weird like adventurist who's like a musician but also does off-roading, ATV and skydiving and stuff. Like, I could just do everything with Yamaha.
yeah.
It's so convenient.
Finally, there's one place I could buy my four-wheeler and a grand piano, and it's
That's right.
Yamaha. It's so yeah, and yeah, it is like it is funny because that is part of the decision too, I guess, with gear, is like, if you're people choosing to represent Black Swamp, they are doing it because there's a certain reputation with the product, and it especially nowadays, like there seems to be as many smaller companies like still holding on or still being hyper regional, or like they're serving a smaller market, but they have like a difference in quality or a difference in accessibility in some areas for
Sure.
people getting equipment, even though there's Sweetwater will you look at the catalog and it shows up at your door the next day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard to be like a bigger, more like solidified thing like Sweetwater or Amazon, right? When they can like they have everything you'd ever want, and like you said, like next day delivery. So when we're a small shop of like 7 people in total, like yes, we have the handmade like artisan side of it, but then it's not going to be next day shipping. Sorry.
No. Yeah, you're gonna wait, but you're gonna enjoy it when it gets there.
Totally. Yeah. And I hope that we like give the impression that like, this is handmade. Like
Mhm.
everyone you've ever seen like at the shop is like the person making the instrument or shipping the instrument.
Yeah.
So I think that's an advantage in itself, because maybe I don't know if you like if there's smaller boutique like keyboard like manufacturers, but I'm sure that when you're like there's like a singular individual building something, like I don't know, most people gravitate towards that.
Yeah, and it with keyboards, it's interesting because I see some smaller companies like the like Rolly with the Seaboards,
Oh,
or
sure.
there's this company in Italy I hit up once because they were making a modular MIDI keyboard thing where you could like buy sets of 22 keys and connect them or like stack them, or you could
That's cool.
break down a full-size keyboard into 4 chunks and like put it in a smaller case.
Nice.
And of course it was like expensive because they needed to make each part, and
Right.
but it was still like, oh, that's a company doing something different, and maybe they develop something and they get partnered up with one of the bigger companies, or maybe they distribute internationally someday, like who knows.
Yeah.
But it's like seeing I see a lot with the pedal all these boutique pedal companies, like
Hmm.
they're carving out their own little, like still very competitive, but like prominent niche in the music industry.
Right. I feel like if you can find your corner, like if you're a band, like if you have a very hyper specific genre, like sure it's not accessible to a wider audience, but the people who are into that are going to really if it's good music, they'll dig into it. And so if you're handcrafted artisan keyboards or pedals or cymbals or whatever, like if it's a good product, even though it's niche, it'll still make an impact. And I mean, it's not going to be Amazon, it's not going to be next day
No.
delivery, but it's good nonetheless.
Yeah, well, and especially with like Amazon and Alibaba and Wish and all these, you know, global, you could get whatever on this site type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not guaranteed necessarily, like you might accidentally buy the fake copy that someone paid for fake reviews, and it like shorts out your car or something.
Right. No, that's a real thing for sure.
Yeah, so like to have closer to the source, and even have like, I think of a company like Chase Bliss where they do these like one-offs and these specific sets of batches. They're guaranteed to like fill a big order, like, 1,000 pedals. They're guaranteed to sell out because it's a unique thing.
Yeah.
And they I feel like that's why they do that every few months. They have some sort of like, this is a new fuzz pedal, or this is a new whatever, or a new version of something we already made but with another company. And
Mm-hmm.
it's cool seeing that kind of collaboration between stuff that's very much competitive.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to be like, they're trying to be Dunlop, or they're trying to be, I'm trying to think of like the big pedal companies. I don't know, all of them.
Pedal companies,
Yeah, Boss.
You're asking there we go. I think
Yeah.
I have one pedal and I'm borrowing it and I don't even know. Maybe it's a Boss pedal. It's a compression pedal. Thanks, Nate. That's who I'm borrowing it from. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then there's like those hidden discoveries too, where like someone makes, like a nano, it's like a pedal that is like a stick, and then it costs like $50, but it still is a multi effects, and you're like, how is this $50 and still has all these multi effects? And yeah, it's nice to find those, like the people who are like, no, we just want people to have the sounds.
Yeah.
No frills.
Yeah, that's cool. Going back to your collaboration thing, I think that's something that I see companies doing a lot, but also recently, like I feel like my Spotify is littered with singles, but it's like 3 or 4 artists, and like I like to listen to records front to back, but these singles are cool because it's combining artists that I may not have heard of with artists I'm familiar with, and it's awesome. Like it's a great mode of discovery, and it's cool music,
Yeah, I see a lot of like, it's like a lot of producers and singers, I feel like are the ones that like, because a singer can like pop in, do their thing, sing a verse or sing the chorus, or have a solo.
Right.
And then producers can like, like Count Cole on Instagram, like he just all the time he's collabing with other producers, because it's like simultaneously promoting both of their products, both of their sounds, both of their writing styles, both of their, like a snapshot of like how they work. And
Yeah.
and it's cool to like, it's cool to have like, I feel like producers usually are like behind the scenes, so to have people who are like, they're producers but they also have that like the showcase aspect. They're not just like, all right, we got to wait until it's like, nope, I'm making a beat and it's a minute long, and
going for it.
Yeah. And I think too in the industry, there has been that trend to like, I think of like hip hop, where like you could have like a song and it's just like, a club hit, or the song of the summer, or like it's a hype song. It's I don't know, whatever. And it's got like, it's, like it's this artist's song, but it's featuring these 5 people, and it's also a guest producer, and it's all listed. And part of me is like, or part of me thinks that it's, like, okay, label heads coming together, management coming together, being like, all right, we should like have these people talk to each other and work with each other and see if we could make a hit. And then they, they pump out a few tracks in that environment, and it's like, okay, like Snoop Dogg's producing all this, but he's going to guest on this person's track who's guesting on his track right now. And then he's going to like it. They all just kind of interwove. And then it's like, all right, we'll put one out in your audience, out in your audience, out in your audience, see who does better, compare and contrast.
Totally. And honestly, it's a great way to have a diverse portfolio, if you're on all these separate tracks, especially if it's with an artist that you may not normally work with, or that's out of your genre bubble. Like, I'm down with that.
Yeah, that's partially why I like being a studio keyboardist, because you can just jump in on someone's experience and like get a taste of what they do, and then the final product comes out and it's like, oh, that was cool, I remember that.
Yeah, totally. Like that, I feel like is the ideal position as, someone who's a working musician, is that not only are you like working with a bunch of different musicians, you're networking, but you're in environments which you might not normally find yourself in. So if you're, like, I feel like I've been a rock drummer my entire life, but playing normal mode and like jazz gigs, it's cool. It feels like a different environment. And because of that, I'm challenging myself in new ways and learning new stuff. And I don't know, I just want to continue to do that. So spread my wings, work with as many people.
Just get all the people. Yeah, I will. And it helps keep, like, I don't know. I always feel like it keeps me on my toes if I like, if I'm at Third Coast and Kevin's just like, hey, could you come in here for a second? And like, okay. And then here's this song. Cool. It's like, all right, go play something. Okay. I think I got it.
That's cool.
And like even the other weekend, I was recording tracks. It was like this kid's first album, and he just wrote some songs like guitar and voice, and he wanted a studio band to kind of fill in the rest of the arrangement, or like play to those scratch tracks of guitar and voice, and then he would retrack voice and guitar and stuff. And some of the stuff, it was interesting, like having like it was established that this kid, he knew enough like of the basic chords to be like, okay, he's got the 1-6-4-5 or 4-1-6-5 or 1-5-4-6, like he just flipping around those same four chords, but you never know exactly. Like he had a song that just kept doing like 6-4-1 for like, each chord was a bar, and it was like, okay, it's an 8-bar phrase, but the turnaround was an extra bar. And of course he's not thinking that, he's just writing a song. So
right.
Those moments where you can like, where you have to dissect a song really quick, and then I'm just communicating back like, oh yeah, this is what you're doing. He's like, I don't even think about it. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'm just telling you this is what you're doing.
Just letting you know.
Just letting you know in case anyone asks you, like, how does this song go? And then you don't just go like this and just expect.
Right.
Yeah, it's like you could explain more about it.
Yeah. That's something I feel like that school taught me, was a vocabulary to be able to understand a song structure, or at least to better communicate with the musicians I'm playing with, right? As opposed to like, the big part, and
it's the fast part. They're all fast.
Yeah. I still talk like that. I feel like that's, I have a lot of self-taught like behaviors that still just, come out when I'm rehearsing or collaborating with musicians. But to be able to understand like a song structure or a chord progression and be able to relay that to people, like that's a helpful tool. Like if that's one thing I can recommend, like make sure you have a vocabulary so other people can understand what you are doing.
Yeah, because it's, as long as you're able to communicate your musical ideas, it should be well enough where someone could pick up on it, even if they don't have the exact terminology. They can
Right.
kind of pick up on like what you're trying to express.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, I get that. I get that question with like people who want to. They're like, should I learn theory? And I'm like, you could. It's not a bad thing. Like you just
Yeah.
learn a little bit more about the stuff you're playing, and then you're
Mm-hmm.
not just like, oh, I wonder what all these notes are. What do they do?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I feel like as a drummer and percussionist, like theory, because rarely was I playing chordal movements or progressions where like if I'm playing a melodic instrument, it's going to be with mallets and it's probably going to be a lead line kind of thing or brief melodies that go in and out. So I didn't really think about chord progressions until you start writing your own or rehearsing with other people and like, okay, what's going on there? And I don't know. It's good. I'm out of my comfort zone and learning other things.
And they hit a certain age and they retired, and then there's just like they turn into soup, and then that's it. Like it's no sort of like condition. It's just like they turned into soup, and and that was the rest of their. They just kind of melted into a chair, and Jeopardy and the wheel is on, and that's all they needed for 20 years. And
I
it's like,
hope
yeah,
I hope neither of us turn to soup, Dutcher. That's a deep.
yeah, and also learning more of how to like knock out. I feel like right now it's just like I've been getting up later than I want, and I'm like, where's my day? So now I'm like needing to get up for the mornings, get all the boring stuff out of the way in the morning, and just do more fun stuff in the afternoon, evening.
Totally. Yeah, I think being your own boss, I mean, it's hard to beat that. Or at least being in a job that allows you to have the flexibility where like you manage your own workflow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't I don't know how many people have worked in like a big box corporation like Best Buy. You knew me when I worked at Best Buy,
Yeah.
and like that was life draining work. Like mainly because everything was regulated by someone who didn't really understand what your workflow was. Like you're all
Right.
salespeople, but it was just people like over your shoulder, like you better get credit card signups. You better do that. And it's like,
You better ruin these customers and have them dependent on us.
absolutely. And it's like, I just really I don't think that's going to be good for anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad I'm out of that. And,
yeah, onto better things. And
yeah.
and I always think of like the times where it's like if you're going, it's a weird, Best Buy is a weird environment because you're either going in very much informed or very ill informed. Like what
There's
you
no
want to
in
go.
between.
Yeah, like I'm gonna get the latest iPad model. It's got these specs. I watched these videos on it. I read a review. I'm down. Got the money. Going to get it. Hey, would you? Nope. Just getting the iPad. And then like someone else is just like, oh man, they got phones in here now. There's not just TVs. And you're like, oh my god. It's like, what do you want? I don't really know. Well, you should get a smart scale and watch and phone and
You should get
doorbell.
everything.
Yeah, you're a smart guy. You want a smart house. Get everything smart.
Yeah, let's get you signed up for that credit card.
Yeah, let's get you signed up for that credit card. Smart doormat, smart bungalow, smart
doormat. Yeah.
like there's no and it's like it's the weird like. So I remember when they tried to have music there too. They had a music department.
Oh yeah.
And they're like,
Yo.
we know technology. Music's a technology.
That was okay. So when I started at Best Buy, like the music section of it was gone, but we still had our employee discount for all the gear that was just stored at a warehouse elsewhere. So in my downtime, I'd browse cymbals and drums and stuff and be like, oh, dude, I could get this with my discount. But
this for so cheap. Yeah.
totally. I wish I was more into like audio gear then, because like, I mean, they had microphones and interfaces and stuff, and I just wanted to hit circles, man. I just wanted cymbals and drums, you know?
Well, and especially with like music tech, it's like, you know, the SM57 is a mic that's like, there's not going to be a ton of, it's not like an iPhone where they keep adding new features every year. It's like, this has been the same SM57, just with different packaging.
Yeah.
And I think people forget, like, you know, when they think like, oh, I have to buy the shiniest new example of it. And it's like, you could just get the thing that is probably used in a million houses and start with that, like, and not have to, you know, it's like you could get something for half the price and it still works.
Yeah, totally. Dude, like, that goes along with our previous conversation about like watching people use new gear, say like new tech and that kind of stuff. Like Apple just had an event last week, and new iPads, new AirTags, you know, new iMac or whatever, and I'm like, oh, dude, I need that. And then to look and be like, you know, the things I have right now, the tools that I have right now are fine. This is great. This does what I need it to do. So yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of, I'm always curious about things like, you know, like the Tile or the AirTags of like, I think of like touring, like if I, you know, put one in my backpack, put one in like a gig bag, dude. Put one in, like, just get a pack of 4 and just like keys, backpack, you know, 2 other important bags, and then
now you're thinking
peace of mind.
Yo, that just make a short little TikTok and Apple will be all over that, you know? You're influencing their product.
Yeah.
No, that's super smart for touring. Like throwing that on a gig bag, like, I never thought of that.
Yeah. And Tile, like, Tile was the first time I'd ever thought about that kind of stuff, because they were making, like, I think they have like a credit card shaped one, and I was like, oh, you could put that in your wallet, and like, if you ever misplace your wallet, and I have, you know, there it is. I have this Ridge wallet.
That's right. Super slim.
Yeah, super slim with the money clip and fits like a handful of cards. So I'm used to the one that like you can feel it in your pocket and it like weighs down your whole, you know, lower body because it's full of all of your old receipts for 3 months. And so yeah, to have this tinier thing with, like, you know, it's like the size of a card, and it, you know, it gets fairly thick, but it's not thick enough where I'd, like, you know, if it slipped out of my pocket, it would take me a second to notice. To have something that would track this would be sweet, just to
totally
not misplace it.
Yeah. Do you have a Tile in there right now, or is that just something?
That was just something I was thinking, because that I saw Marquise Brownlee's review of the AirTags, and
so did I.
And I was like, ooh, these things would be good for gig bags, or, you know, like
totally
any of, because I've only had my bag stolen once, and that was like years ago.
Rough.
It was like,
was that on tour?
No, it was at Grand Valley. Not on campus, but I had it was before Founders like paved and owned the parking that they do now behind the building. And that was still where people would park, you know, kind of loosely after hours to go see a show. Or like, you know, they park there, go to the intersection. And my friend was doing the, you know, the, not battle of the bands, but like a guitar competition. And he lost, but we say he lost by popular vote because he was the better guitarist. But the other person that won was like, oh, they're in a band that's already popular, and like all their friends showed up and voted. But we went back to my friend's car, and her window was smashed, and we were like, oh no, like, what happened? And then in my head, I'm just thinking like, oh man, she got robbed. That sucks. And I forgot, like, oh wait, I carpooled with her, and it didn't connect until I got back to my car. That I was like, I don't have there's nothing in this car. There's no. So I was like, I think it was my first semester too, or the first end of my first year. So it was like,
Okay.
I had a rental part for a it was a year that you remember Ashley Harris, flute player. She had won a concerto competition and was performing with the orchestra, and they needed I think it was piano, it might have been celeste, but
Okay.
they needed that part, and all the parts were rentals, and this on top of like my laptop with all my notes and all my things I was working on, all my rep with all my notes in it, because I just literally went from school to my friend's house, got in the car because I was like, oh, I don't want to leave it. I brought it too because I was like, I don't want to leave it in that car because it's unattended, might get stolen, and then of course it gets stolen in the other unattended car. But that was interesting because like when I told was it Professor Deitman about it, he just didn't believe that I got anything stolen. And I had to wait.
That's not possible.
Yeah, he's like, you're just making excuses, because I had missed like one other rehearsal because I was donating plasma like in Grand Rapids.
Sure.
I'm like, I got done and it was like already like 45 minutes into rehearsal, and I'm like, oh, I can't and so he was already kind of upset. But yeah, until I got the police report, he didn't believe that it had been stolen.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, hey, I'm trying to expedite, like, how do we get new parts? Like, do I owe you money? Like what happens when it happens? And then of course he's like, you're going to be, now that you have the part, tomorrow you're going to be in my office and we're going to run through it until it's right. And we ran through it like twice. And I'm like, what is
nice.
Like, I know the music, it just got stolen.
Yeah. No, I'm not making excuses. This actually happened.
Yeah. It's like, I'm going to graduate. Some of these people aren't going to graduate, but I'm going to graduate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, can you imagine the thief, like opening up your bag and being like, laptop, nice. Maybe a charger, nice. And then sheet music. Oh, I robbed a musician. Oh no.
Oh no.
What am I gonna do with all this sheet music?
Yeah,
what am
I
I
can't
gonna
sell
do?
this.
Right. It says rental. I'm gonna recycle it.
Yeah. It's like, my thought was that they, if it was a quick grab and like they just found what they needed and just ran away, and maybe my bag was just abandoned somewhere.
Sure.
But yeah, that was just I was like, I think that was in like March too, so it was like I had a month to like figure out my whole life of learning music again.
That's hardcore. And for your freshman year at Grand Valley?
Yeah, just to have like, all the foundational rug just pulled out. It's like, well, there goes all my music, all my notes, my exams are in a month, my juries are in a month.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, nothing like getting thrown in the fire, huh?
Yeah, it was but you learn from it.
Right. Yeah. I know I've had friends who've had gear stolen from cars, so like I always end up throwing stuff under a seat, or when I can, like, I don't know, I don't want to tempt anybody, like, right. If they see something like I don't know. But luckily I haven't had any break-ins, and for the most part, like, no one wants to lug a full drum set, so like that's been good, I guess.
Yeah, same with like I would have my gear. I think the entire second year I was at Western, I didn't want to carry my gear up 4 flights of stairs all the time, so I would just leave it in my like tiny Honda, and it was never. Nobody looked at it. Nobody cared. No, there's
nice.
There's, yeah. I don't know, a keyboard. What am I going to do with that?
Right.
And, but I think of like the Accidentals as like someone who like they were just, They had their whole trailer stolen, and that was like thousands of dollars. Just like I would not know. I'm glad they had like some sort of support system, because I would just be like, we can't, we have our guitars.
Right.
And cajon and
yeah. I feel like because of, 2020, I haven't heard as many trailer stories, but like, man, that used to happen so consistently. Like seeing on Facebook or DIY touring, like people just like, yo, our trailer got stolen, or, van got broken into last night, and it sucks. That's just like the worst.
Yeah, the worst thing to do. It like people, because everyone thinks like, because of how the music industry is presented to so many people, it's like, oh, tour equals production equals things in a car, in a van, like this glamorous, touring lifestyle. Like I don't mind robbing them. And it's like, no, it's like, even if you had if you were a moral robber,
like Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Like moral thief.
Yeah. If you were like breaking into like, I don't know, I'm going to steal these instruments to give to the less fortunate, give instruments. It's like, I don't know. It's still like, I think of like the one tour I did with Mark, where like the van we were borrowing broke down twice. And it was like the first time we got super lucky and broke down like right before this big stretch of road that would have went into Colorado. We broke down and like, okay, we'll stay at this La Quinta Inn and like figure out, like they were nice enough to rent, like, it was a space with like 3 beds. It was like a 3-bed suite with like a couple cots and a couch.
Sure. Enough to get everyone a place to sleep, I guess.
Yeah. And like super late at night, just like, do you have anything? And then the second time it was like the problem was, I think it was like we needed a radiator replaced or something. And this like, it looked like a family. They drove up in like this mobile, like car repair thing, like just a van outfitted with all the tools. They had, they sourced the part from their scrap yard, and it's like, yeah, we got that for that exact model. And they met us at like an O'Reilly's parking lot and like swapped it in like an hour and a half.
That's
back
awesome.
On the road.
I feel like I haven't heard of a business model like that, but why is that not a thing more often? That's cool.
Yeah, it's like double A. It's just like, it's not quite triple A, but it's
double A.
Yeah, but
that's cool.
Yeah, well, I wish we could chat a little longer, but I have 10 minutes to get to rehearsal.
Yeah. So, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for your time and your schedule. Where can people find, I don't know, what you're up to or what Black Swamp's up to?
Sure. Yeah, so Black Swamp Percussion you can find on all internet sites at Black Swamp Percussion or Black Swamp Perk. We're everywhere. We're pretty active on Instagram, so if you want to hang and say hi there, please do. And myself, I'm at Nathan__Coles. So I got music projects on the horizon, some that you're involved with, and other collaborations. So give me a follow on the gram. I made a TikTok. We'll see what happens.
See what happens with that. Yeah, and for those listening now or after the fact, you can always support these podcasts through patreon.com/Tracy Snedeker. There's different tiers, gets you early access to podcasts, the sticker of the month club, where I commission an artist or photographer to I make stickers out of them, and they get
that new sticker. It looks so good.
It's
join the Patreon for this sticker.
Yeah, they were sent out already for this month, but I'm figuring out what to do for this backlog of stickers. But I keep almost dropping these stickers.
Oh yeah, I love that. Who's the artist?
Was it Brandon James, who plays with Jack and the Bear? His artist thing is Bad Love Design. I think it's at Bad Love Design on Instagram. He's done some work that's been recognized by actually Jamie Lee Curtis, because he did a mock-up in this kind of style of that Knives Out movie, and she reposted it.
Very cool. I was like, good going.
But yeah, you can support there. DutchSnedeker.com for everything else, all that good stuff.
Cool. Thanks for having me, Dutcher.
Yeah, thanks. I'll see you Saturday. Yeah, Saturday.
All right. Later.